Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Obscure Arc, where we talk about cool anime, or at least anime that we think is cool, and, you know, discuss what we like, what we don't like, and everything in between.
I don't know how cool this one is. We'll see.
We'll
how I feel
see,
about
yeah.
It.
But I'm here with my co-host, Jared. How are you doing, Jared?
I'm doing good. It's a very different show we're covering, like insanely different show we're covering, but
It is.
it'll be interesting for the discussion that we'll have.
Yeah. Just so everyone, for everyone who might be watching this episode as is, we just discussed or talked about link click. So talking about that, jumping into this, interesting transition. But let's not make you guys wait more and talk about Dorohedoro,
Your choice of the month, yeah.
my choice of this month. The reason that this was my choice is back when it got released for the first time, which you would say it's usually a lot of anime get adapted like relatively closer to its original source, or when there's an original source. But this one took its sweet time before it was actually adapted to an anime, because the original source, or in this case manga, first started its release in back in 2000, the year 2000, if there's people who aren't familiar with that. No, I'm just kidding. And then the adaptation came out in 2020.
Yep, winter 2020.
So 2 decades after the manga's first release is a...
To be fair, it did finish in 2018.
That is true, yeah. It did go on for a long time. But still, it's interesting because a lot of adaptations come in much earlier.
It usually boosts sales along the way, type of thing. That's usually the point of a lot of anime.
But that being said, the anime is done by Studio Mappa. They are Mappa.
If you should know Mappa, but if you don't,
they did Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Attack on Titan Season 4 and onwards, Dororo, Yuri on Ice, and many, many more other shows. It's produced by a lot of studios. Shogakukan and Shueisha Productions, Mainichi Broadcasting System, Melvic, Toho Animation, BS11, Shogakukan, Sumitomo, Rei, Pia. And it is licensed by Netflix. So that kind of explains the many, many collaborations.
It's a weird production because it was licensed by Netflix. It's not the first, and it wasn't early per se, but it was one of the, it was in the phase of this became a more common thing. It was, I can't remember what the first original Netflix anime was. It was probably around 2015, but this was around the phase where it's like Netflix made a big push for it, and it was obviously during the pandemic, kind of during this time.
Like, if you paid attention to the, I guess, subscription services or companies like Netflix adopting the anime scene, you would remember seeing Dorohedoro and being like, oh, so Netflix is doing an anime like this.
There was a big push for it. I mean, they're not, to be clear, they're not doing it, they're licensing it, but they are involved to some extent in the process.
So they're actually putting their name on an anime production like that, and then it's, like I mentioned, based on a manga, by Q Hayashida. Q Hayashida also did Makian X Another, Die Dark, Underground. Underground, yeah, twice. If you want to know, if you wanted to know his other works, and music is done by No Name.
Mm-hmm.
They did other shows, some we like a lot. Licorice Recoil, To Be Hero X, which is a new one, and we are interested in watching it in the future. CV, The Sound of Heroes, Spy X Family, which is a fan favorite, or was a fan favorite. I don't know the active situation, to be honest. And a few more other shows.
To clarify what No Name is, it sounds like just a music artist, but it is a company.
It is, yeah.
That is a conglomeration of artists that have come together and they kind of outsource it. For certain shows, like we mentioned with Licorice Recoil, it was primarily done by, I believe it's Mutsuke Shuhei. I don't see details for who did this one from No Name. I don't feel like they have an obligation to share it, but I just didn't see any information.
They probably did build like a team.
Yeah, they do a team or something, or it depends on work. But yeah, No Name is a company, not just
it's
one
not
person.
a group or a person.
Yeah.
Sound director Fujito Akiko did a lot of other popular works, like JJK, My Dress Up Darling, Wonder Egg Priority, Kakeguri, Bocchi the Rock, which within their own fan base and realms, like all the shows that we just named are really popular.
They're all really popular. Wonder Egg Priority is more infamous than popular.
Is also true, but still well known for some reasons. Yeah. Director is Yuichiro Hayashi. He did Attack on Titan final season, again Kakeguri, Garo the animation, and some other works. And as you can imagine, since it's licensed by Netflix, you can find Dorohedoro on Netflix apps.
There's the occasional...
Or any other means.
Well, yeah,
necessary.
Of course. There is always the occasional... It's really rare when a streaming service themselves does this, but there's the occasional... sometimes you license it. I really want it on my streaming service, so I'll pay a big amount of money to license it. That didn't happen with this one for understandable reasons, but it does happen occasionally. Just want to make that clear. Very rare, though.
We will talk about this show, but to drop a quick description of what it is, Dorohedoro drops you into a grimy, brutal world where magic is messy, violence is casual, and nothing is quite normal. In the filthy city of the Hole, K-men are big-hearted, kind of goofy and childish, I want to add, amnesic protagonist with a lizard head haunts sorcerers to figure out who cursed him. If you didn't catch that, the curse is him having a lizard head. Dark humor, savage fights, and a cast of wildly strange characters make this cruel world weird, kind of cool, and yeah, pretty intriguing in some and not so much in others. That being said, the setting and the genre of the story is set place in a more brutal, gothic, steampunk world. I know those words thrown together don't make a lot of sense, but if you even look at the first episode, just the first episode, you will understand what I'm trying to say here. It has a really interesting magic system. Nothing crazy that we've never seen before, but the implementations and some ideas behind it is intriguing. And it definitely feels seinen.
Yes, it's very seinen.
As well as having, at least in my opinion, pretty wholesome characters within their realm. Art and production value, nice blood action going on, a lot, pretty brutal, pretty gory, really cool ideas.
Yep.
We did mention it's MAPPA, so don't let that one slip away, you know.
We'll talk about more in a second.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more in a second, but...
I mean, there's the elephant in the room. We have to say it. This is 3D animation.
It is.
And this is not Trigun Stampede 3D animation. This is 3D animation. And it's 3D animation.
And it's a relatively early adopter at that too.
It depends what you want to say early adopter. It's really different.
It got released in 2020. It's 2019. And like we see 3D animation in anime way back in time. Obviously. But like bold movements like doing 90% of the show 3D.
I think it's part of the wave. I don't think
Yeah.
it was an early adopter per se.
Oh,
I think I would
okay.
say it's more part of the wave of the more common trends. And by the wave, I mean things produced by Mappa.
Okay.
Sure, Studio Orange does,
Yeah.
this and stuff like that. And other studios we've talked about in the past have done 3D animation, but
I'd put it like this. It's one of the first mainstream released shows that I've seen that's made 3D.
adding the I've seen, yes. There's been quite a bit of 3D animation full shows before.
Yeah, but like,
because
I'm thinking like right before COVID, right?
Land of the Lustrous was like I would say a few years before that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to say that like when I started to see like a lot of 3D stuff booming up, like it was after COVID or during COVID actually for me.
I noticed it around 2017, I would say. I can't remember exactly when Land of the Lustrous came out, but there was definitely a push after Land of the Lustrous for this kind of stuff to be more common.
Might be. Yeah.
I think that was Studio Orange's main success. Like I don't know if Beastars came before or after Land of the Lustrous, but I know Land of the Lustrous was like it can look good.
I think Beastars is roughly around the same time with Dorohedoro.
I doubt.
We'll see though.
I doubt that greatly, actually.
Actually, let's check that real quick.
Let me see real quick. Anyways, while I look this up.
2019. So back to back. So a few months. That's why like Beastars, Dorohedoro, stuff like this. I remember like seeing a few like more mainstream, and when I say mainstream, like seeing more 3D animated stuff on platforms like Netflix or Amazon or whatever you watch your animes from. But that was definitely like a shift for me.
I will say this show wasn't that popular when released. It just happened to be licensed by Netflix.
Yeah. I'm saying this is something that I watched on release, and Beastars is something that I watched back when it released too. So seeing these back to back, kind of, I'm like, okay, like we're really getting into fully 3D stuff now.
It was a push to move to like 90% to 100% fully 3D. And I will say, dear God, is Mappa as a studio struggle a ton. I mean,
they do. Yeah.
We talked about Dororo, which it's interesting that we cover the two map animations of Dororo and Dorohedoro. That said, I think that even Dororo, at least Dororo had good art despite mediocre animation or lack of animation sometimes. This show really struggles in certain shots. And I want to be...
Especially transitional shots a lot.
Yes. Yeah. I think that it is hard to not talk about this as the elephant in the room because ultimately when you want to watch animation with good and pleasing art styles or animation and it has action in it and you see something stuttering, you're very taken at, like, again, I mentioned this in the Link Click episode, there's very few things that'll take me out of a moment because I have very high walls of suspension of disbelief. But when something is legitimately like hard to watch, and I described it as video game level animation, and I don't mean video game level animation as in like, oh, this is a cutscene. No, I meant this is video game level animation of this is in engine and not looking the best.
It drops like really fast.
Yeah, and it's even as an art style, I think it's fine. I think a lot of things are passable, and I think it has really cool ideas. But ultimately, you can tell that the CGI is a choice to save money, which is anytime I see something like that wasn't very done with a lot of finesse or very deftly, I get mad at it because I'm just like, you made this choice and it didn't pay off. And that is your fault. Like, it's clearly a choice, right?
It is a choice, especially with that many studios support, like, or production companies supporting it.
I mean, I don't know how much budget this show had. I mean, to be fair, sometimes it all depends.
To be honest, yeah.
Like,
they might have like a lot of supporters, but getting small margin from each one.
Yeah, like I'm hesitant to say how high budget this was. Mappa usually works with piss budgets most of the time. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, Chainsaw Man Res was made with $4 million. That's crazy, people. That's insane. Like, I know that 4 million is different in America.
Which doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, when you even consider the fact that, like, it's after how successful the franchise is.
It's because they care about profits that much. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I won't lie. Mappa as a studio has. I mean, to be fair, I won't lie. It's not just Mappa. There are other animation studios that do this, but usually Mappa is known not only for overworking but also sacrificing quality. That is my biggest issue with it. They are one of the studios that will consistently sacrifice quality while still not treating their workers well.
Yeah, but jumping back to Dorohedoro, you did mention like it's really brutal, gruesome, which is not like it's up there with like being having that element so much that there isn't a lot of shows out there that's on the same level. So what's your thought about that side of
For me, it's like I always try to understand, well, is there a point to this? And for me, sometimes I'm on the same wavelength as Dorohedoro, where I'm just like, oh, the brutality makes sense. It's cool. I think for me, I see moments with characters like Shin. I think moments with Kaiman make sense. But there are other times where I'm just like, okay, but why? It feels like it is doing it a bit for shock value. And I'm always taken aback when it does stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to say, like, the first shot makes sense. You want to set the tone. You want to make it established. But there's other times where I'm just like, Jesus Christ, why is this randomly very bloody and gory? Which I'm like, I know that's like the vibe and theme of the show, but I'm always like, don't do it too much because I will get desensitized to it. Because if you do it too much and I get desensitized, then you've lost some, like, because to be fair, sometimes a lot of shows will use it as a gore, shock value type thing. But if you desensitize your audience to it, they'll stop caring about it in that moment. I think I would argue Chainsaw Man is guilty of this. Quite honestly, I would argue Chainsaw Man is not like hugely guilty. It's not a huge problem in Chainsaw Man, but there are moments where I think it expects you to be more grossed out, and it's just like, I've seen enough of this that I don't care. And it's not done in a crazy artistic way. Like, I think part of it is that because the actual presentation of it is shoddy a lot of the times, that I'm not as blown away or like disturbed by it, because I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, I guess that happened. It wasn't done in a very creative way, just kind of as a matter of fact. Like, a lot of what, to not keep going back to the animation, but because it's related to it, a lot of shots and a lot of sequences in Dorohedoro are about achieving an idea, and it's not about doing something artistic, which really bothers me. It's very much, I've talked about this, so it's like a manga editing type of style where they're taking panels and doing the panel more or less. And it's just like, man, there's no sauce here. It's just like, I'm just trying to make the next step happen. And I'm
which,
just
unfortunately, a thing that comes with MAPPA a lot of the time.
I mean, I literally had this exact same complaint with Dororo. So
yeah. That being said, that is a really solid take on brutality. I do kind of get what you're getting at when it's desensitizing its own audience, using it too much. It is hella metal though. Let's go.
I mean, if I were even to compare it to something like Gachiakuda, I think Gachiakuda's way of brutality, at least I only watched about 7 to 8 episodes of it. I was like, I fuck with this a little bit more but again, eventually it goes over. It goes over the hill, and I'm like, you used it too much.
The way I would put it, which, like, for me, it's gonna sound weird. I do enjoy. Dorohedoro is a weird show for me because I like stuff being butchered all around the place in this show. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, the whole show feels like a version of Mortal Kombat, like brutalities and fatalities. And you might not enjoy brutalities and fatalities if it was happening in every game you play, but when it's in Mortal Kombat, you're like, let's go. Or at least for some of us, that's the case.
I guess for me, it's like, I don't like it for the sake of it per se. And I think when it's used sparingly, for me, there's so much of the show is just so much all the time that I'm like, okay, I got it. Like,
it's not adding to the story, what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, if that's the appeal, I guess, but I don't value that appeal very highly.
No, I get that. I certainly get that.
I will say the character designs are really good.
The designs are nice.
I will say that
the mask designs. I like the masks.
They have these nice outfit changes and really cool looks. I will say Q Hayashida has a type. We know, we get it, dude. You don't have to tell us. We understand your type in women. We get it. You don't have to tell us. That's I just. But overall, I think it's
valid.
I think his character designs are like really solid, and I think overall, if the show's frame rate wasn't so sketchy, it would look pretty good for what it is.
Yeah.
But
if it had like a life of quality update, like a game would, right?
Yes, it needs it desperately.
This would be a much solid show visually than what it is right now. And don't get me wrong, I am on the side of someone still enjoying it, because as much as much as it lacks on frame drops and stuff like that. I do find the character design, the world design, and the general aesthetic really pleasing, really intriguing to look and watch and see. Uh, this does not mean that I approve in general that a show does have problems like Dorohedoro has in its frame
I mean, I
situation.
will
but
say that like the aesthetic of the whole. Pause on that sentence. The
Yeah.
aesthetic of the whole is very like interesting and intriguing. And I love how it has a dichotomy with the sorcerer world. Like I love the brutal like kind of like junk. Like I mean, to be fair, we've seen it before. We're not going to pretend
Yeah.
like it's new, but we've seen it before. But it's like I do like their take on it of like semi post-apocalyptic, but also some future tech, but also like definitely old tech type of stuff that's back in there, as well as it being contradicted with magic that's very unsexy. Magic is usually a very sexy thing done
That's
for
the
sexy
thing,
elves and done by sexy people who do sexy things. I like that it is
Yeah.
very much normal people who are dumb and stupid and potentially not the right people to be possessing magic.
It's to a point, right?
Yeah.
That you as a person might be like, nah, I think I'm off better not doing magic. It's to that point almost. Not entirely, but some stuff you see in it, you're like, I might actually prefer not having magic in this world. You know what I mean?
I mean, the only reason I don't say that is because of how obvious the class system is of literally a sorcerer
Yeah.
world where sorcerers are allowed to live and people in the whole who have been experimented on and tortured basically by sorcerers.
That is, yeah.
So even if you have magic, just not using it is like an option for people, obviously. But just like I will say it is exhausting sometimes. Not that this show definitely doesn't do it that bad. It's just exhausting myself. I was like, okay, Jared, time to wake up and consume your another piece of magic media that's about social hierarchy. And I'm just like, yes, ma'am. It's like, it's another show that's
Yeah.
about it, and it's like it does it
This-
well and it's
yeah.
authentic. But it is like, Jesus Christ, is there not another way to tell this
A
story?
magic story,
Like
yeah.
I'm so shocked. I'm just like, it's every time. It's like every
is,
single
yeah.
time. It's about talent, potential, class, every single time.
It is.
So-
and most of it, and it starts immediately like that. Well, I guess at least it gets it out of the way from the get go.
Like, don't get me, it's not plaguing the story.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
a bad thing. I'm just like, wow, again. That's the only reason
Yeah.
why. It's in the context of the
Yeah.
form. It's very exhausting.
At this point, it's like an expectation for me. Like I'm like,
It's not a healthy thing though.
I know. I'm just like it is what it is. It's I don't know. Everyone does it, like you said. Like I'm not saying anything against that. Like everyone does it. So I don't even give a reaction because it's already there in my head. You know what I mean?
No, I can get that, but at the same time, it's like it's so closely tied to narrative that it's annoying to me. Sometimes.
is.
Because it's like it relates to Nikaido's arc. It relates to a bit of Shin's arc. I just don't like how it plays
Yeah.
everything, and it feels like this is the stories you're going to expect. You're not going to get something different.
is.
By the way, it takes the excitement away from me when I'm watching a show like that. That's the only thing. I'm just like, man.
Yeah. Well, it's if you know it exists there, it's not gonna excite you regardless. So
Yeah, well, it's just yeah.
that being said, the magic part of things, I do kind of want to, hover on that topic a little bit more. When we say like execution and stuff, right? For example, in a lot of magic related shows, I'd say almost 90% of the shows that deal with magic, it's like, it's mana, like you either have the innate talent to feel it or see it or whatever, or you can't understand or fathom what mana is to begin with. In Dorohedoro, that's not the case. That's the magic powder or magic mist they use, or smoke they use in this world to do magic is, again, it's produced organically by the body, right? But it's not necessarily only seeable by magicians. Everyone can see it, not everyone can use it. It's literally a smoke coming out of your body if you're capable of using it. And then it's also what interested me back when I was watching is that it's not necessarily people don't like produce it, but the vein that produces the smoke is not connected.
Oh.
So, and some people don't have the vein at all. Yeah. That is also a case. But some people have the vein, but it's not connected. Thus, they can't use magic. And they can, in the story, we see surgically attach that vein. And so stuff like that really is off the norm in magic animes, which is like, it's a nice details.
It's a cool idea, but at the same time, so for me, it's a cool idea, but sometimes I'm just like, is it just being contradictory to be contradictory? The answer is not exactly. To be fair, it's more about magic as a weapon. It's more of the larger thematic narrative thing, and how magic is like a thing that we use to oppress people, and like a bit more of that than your typical magic show. But ultimately, a lot of the aesthetic and stuff is like feels like it is about being against the grain a little bit of like, wow, our magic is different. Look at all this shit that's different, and it doesn't actually add to the story. Which again, cool small details. I don't add a ton of points to that because I'm just kind of like,
of course,
it's fine, it's cool. I mean, I think it's interesting that they like smoke is something that they like bottle up and sell as a drug sometimes, or like sell as like a scarce resource, and like there's drugs, stuff like that to it. I'm like, sure, interesting, but. The whole tool of it is it's more or less used as like an ingredient, a means of oppression for the people in the whole. Yeah. That's what it is, and it's what it represents in the story more often than not. Like
yeah, which is, I guess, not the biggest point of story for a lot of shows, or like 50-50, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, to be quite honest, yes, a lot of magic shows are kind of lazy. Don't get me wrong.
That is true.
I would argue it's less magic and more the genre of fantasy. You can take magic as an idea, and it is like powers in other shows.
You actually mentioned something good. I'd say within that, and this is not a studio thing, this is an author thing, the magic doesn't feel lazy.
It's not lazy, yeah.
Again, this isn't necessarily something... Mappa almost has nothing to do with this, so no points to Mappa. But the author did actually put some, thought behind what he wants of magic in his story, and that's a good thing. That's like something.
It's intentional, but it doesn't serve a larger purpose beyond being the tool of oppression, which I think is valuable and I think it's important. Yeah. But I think my main problem with Dorohedoro overall is the direction we're going in all the time, which is I think the way Kaiman drives the story is very simplistic, obviously, because I know he's like kind of a child, and I guess he's supposed to be mostly stunted, but I'm not sure why, but I guess he is. And he's very one beat in one direction. And
he is. He's not a character with a lot of... He is not someone with a super wide... spectrum.
Yeah, he doesn't have any... not only does he not have that, he doesn't have much of interiority. He doesn't think about his actions. He just does the next thing. I would say... my question to you, do you consider this show funny?
In general, good question. Not necessarily.
But it's trying to be funny.
So, some moments I do like there are a few jokes that I liked. But not the whole show being funny.
But it's trying to be funny a lot, though, isn't it? Like, Ibisu is trying to be funny, like, a lot of the time. Kaiman's trying to be, like, ho-ho, wacky sometimes. Yeah. And it feels like, I'm always questioning, was I supposed to laugh? Like, especially with Kaiman. I'm like, was I supposed to laugh?
Kaiman's parts, I don't necessarily... I genuinely think I never... The only thing that I guess I can remember on top of my head that I laughed, my English left me right now, that I laughed, and it was with Kaiman.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where he talks with the trash bag, like with the experimented guy inside it, and he's just like, kill me, and they have like a brief conversation, and he just throws him. Like that was like a chuckle moment for me because of the reaction he gave to the guy in the trash bag at the beginning of that scene. But other than that, I don't think I actually laughed anything. Most stuff, I think I laughed some Ebisu like funny moments they had. I think I laughed specifically to the one in the zombie arc.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it's a really hit or miss type of
I think it's a lot
humor.
of misses. I think it's a lot of misses. I'm as someone who has watched genuinely funny anime and like genuinely good comedy or anime that has comedy in it, I was like, wow, not only is it trying a lot, it's missing a lot. Like that's my thing that bothers me about the show. It's okay to be not funny or have a joke that's not funny.
Yeah.
It is trying like every other scene it's trying to do a joke.
I do want to point out that that's like super personal, like as in like humor. So I understand.
I'm as someone who is very into like specific things about comedy, there's ways you can set up jokes to be right, or like even gimmicks and ideas.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, I don't think Q Hayashida is a very funny person. Like even if you want to say it's a preference thing, there are people who are funnier and not funnier by enough consensus.
That is true.
And I just don't think Q Hayashida is a very funny person.
No, I don't think so either. And I'm just saying, like, obviously, coming out of your comment, it hit even less for you than it did for me. So that's why I wanted to point. It's the fact that it tried
so damn much.
That is true.
It's persistent about trying to make you laugh till like the last episode, and I'm just like,
that is also true. Yeah.
But why? It's like it has the comedy tag, and I'm like, I don't see it.
The persistency does like push it to a worse.
That's why it's a bit
spot,
right? It's one thing if it has a joke every like 3 episodes, even 2 episodes. And it's just not funny. It's like every other scene for a show that's supposedly supposed to be sane and semi-serious. And I'm just like, dude, like you're not funny. Like it's and like I don't think he's trying to be too funny, but like if you're too funny, you might change the tone of the show a bit too much. And he obviously wants to be a bit darker. And I'm just like, it just feels inconsistent all the time.
Inconsistent. I do kind of agree. Like the biggest thing in terms of humor in this show is there are like humor is the centerpiece within that moment, and then there's a lot of humor going at the background of the main action. I'm saying this regardless of like hits or misses. And because of that, there's a lot of attempts to make scenes funny. And I'd say, like, even if he kept the attempt for the main humor parts, if he took out the background ones, it would affect the tone in a better way than what it is now.
I mean, to be fair, it's also a Mappa problem. Mappa will sometimes throw this joke and give it like 3 seconds to breathe. And I'm like, bro, let it breathe or set it up or do something. Like, I don't know if it just didn't translate properly to the animation, but I'm just like, I was just like, wow. Like, I mean, I will say my biggest problem with this show is the pacing. I think it is paced too quickly because Kaiman is really trying to do the next thing.
Yeah.
And I just want some room to breathe. Like, I want to know a little bit about Kaiman. I want to know a bit more about Nikaido. And like, sure, we learn more about Nikaido's lore. We don't learn that much about Nikaido. We learned about Nikaido as a sorcerer.
It's
just not enough. Yeah. It's just not enough to me.
Yeah, no, one thing I did notice, like, after watching this for the second time, so I haven't watched this show since its initial release, right? Going back to it, I genuinely did have a reaction where I was like, wait, we're already in the magic realm?
Yeah.
Because I didn't necessarily remember us going into the magic world that early in the show. So I was like, oh, like I didn't realize we didn't like the problem or the struggle is portrayed in such a way that when they go to the magician's world, like it feels unnatural. It feels like it should have taken them a bit more effort to get there than what they actually
or a bit
performed.
more resolve. That's the thing, is like Kaiman needs to build up, you know what, I'm going to do it. He's just kind of like, Yeah, fuck you, Nikaido. I'm gonna get, like, not really, but like he's kind of like, I'm not, I don't want to get Nikaido caught in this. I'm gonna leave. And I'm like, bro, what? I was like, dude. And he's like, I'm gonna go. Do I know what I'm looking for? Kind of, not really. And I'm just like, what? And then you're gonna change the whole direction of the show? Like, I think I will say the show's mystery is interesting. Again, seen it before. Kind of like, it's not exactly the monster inside of him type of thing. It's like the monster that's his head, but also the person. I get it. It's a cool mystery. We've seen this idea before in like a ton of different shows, but I find it interesting enough.
It wasn't, interesting enough.
So I'm like, not even more. I find it more than interesting enough, to be fair. I find I'm like, wow, this is intriguing. But then the show just goes, well, fuck it, next thing. Well, fuck it, next thing, all the time. And I'm just like, dude, I want to learn something about the world. I want to just spend some time. Like at first, they kind of do it a little with like Kaiman at the, he kind of does it with like at the hospital. You get a little bit of time to breathe there, but like it's really rare, especially the second like Shin and Noi come on the scene. Which, to be fair, I like Shin and Noi quite a bit. I especially like Shin. I think they spend great time with Shin. But ultimately, I'm just like, wow, we're just going. It's like the next action to the next action, and my even if the pacing is like that, that's fine. It's the lack of finesse, which it says a lot of things out loud of, this is what I'm thinking. I'm gonna go do the next thing. And like, while on a technical level, yes, you are achieving what you need to do in that scene to go to the next scene. That's not why we tell stories. And I think
not necessarily the goal of the storytelling part of it.
Yeah, we're not trying to just achieve again, like I said, basically with this Northern Lion clip.
You're not trying to do from point A to B to C to D.
Yeah, the other part of the Northern Lion clip is if you love following steps so much, you should get into baking. Because that's all it is. And I'm like,
I love baking.
No, I love baking to be fair, but it is a very different process than following a story and like creating and doing magical things.
Yeah.
It feels like we're just doing the next step on a recipe.
It's more like not following a recipe, creating a recipe, right?
No, because if we're talking literally creating a recipe,
it would be creating a manga. But
no, it's more so. No, I would say it is like following a recipe because I know I've seen this story before. I've seen the same.
No, I'm saying like when you're trying to tell make a story, that's more like creating a recipe and not trying to follow a recipe.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
That's what I was getting.
You should be a bit more artistic, and you should have ideas, and you should be experimenting and trying things.
That's what I was saying.
Then it goes down on the paper.
That's not for this part. Yeah.
If you want to stretch the analogy that way, sure. But for me, it really is just like I'm going from next logical location to next logical location. Character then says the information I need to know. Like for me, it was like I noticed it really hard when Kaiman woke up from one of his dreams and was like, that same dream again, and then like says a lot of things out loud about it, and I'm just like,
that is a bit too much on the nose, because one of the first things we do here in the anime is like, that alleyway again.
Yeah, it's just like over and over again. I'm like, I get it. You don't need to tell me. I'm not stupid. I see him wake up. That's all the information I need. You just make it a little artsier. Make it a familiar waking up scene, a regret. Make him feel something, then rather than just basically him look at the camera and tell me, hey, this is what you need to know. Like it consistently does that throughout the entire show.
I do wonder if that's like a Mappa thing, or is it like because I haven't seen the manga for this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't know if it's like in the manga it's like that too, or like if it's a Mappa habit.
I'm sure some of it is a bit of a Mappa habit, just because I'm familiar with Mappa's work, as well as also it's paced in a very Mappa way of next thing, next big set piece, next big set piece. Like it's very
like
Mappa.
super goal driven.
Yeah, it's really it's crazy because we mentioned Yuri on Ice, which is not that at all. But Yuri on Ice is also a very special production of Mappa, and it's like an anime original. So it's just, I don't know. I'm very not happy with the fact that there were things I liked about the show, but I never got to spend time with it. Because it was the next thing for Kaiman and the next thing for Nikaido and the next thing for En, and just over and over again, just like going to the next thing without really feeling a strong attachment to anything because you don't spend the right time with it,
We didn't. And again, that kind of makes me feel like every now and then we encounter problems like that, right? Where a show feels too short for what it is, or it feels like it needed more time. And I feel like Dorohedoro is one of those shows. They tried to fit this into like a 12 episode single season project, and it didn't necessarily worked as well. And some of it could most certainly be fixed with pacing.
I think pacing and time is some of it, but I do think there's a certain thing of like finesse and artistry that is missing as a whole from this entire thing. Like, I don't think, like, when you think about like the symbolism, it's like, oh, that alleyway, and it's like, oh, that telephone.
Yeah.
There's not like a ton of things that are like really sticking out in your brain that really attach you to the story. There's no motifs or ideas that are like, wow, this is cool or interesting.
It's not necessarily triggering you to think certain stuff, and it's just giving you from the get-go, which takes you out of the...
It's just it's just being like provided a manual of, hey, here's how the story goes. And I'm like, let me feel something. Give me something to go. Like, again, if we were to compare it to like Link Click or something, Link Click, very simple ideas, but does a lot of artistry with it.
Yeah.
Presents it in a way that is about the human experience and human emotions. Whereas with this, it's just kind of like, this is what's happening on screen, by the way.
You're almost given like a user guide.
It's like a lot of the dialogue, especially the dialogue for the show, is reinforcing what's happening on screen to the viewer. And I don't need that. I really do not need that. What I need is I need these characters to give me an experience or an idea of what I should be like going along with them for. Like, I don't need to be told what's happening. Like, it feels like it's consistently happening of like I remember it's like, is it Blue Knight? I believe it's Blue Knight. They're just like constantly saying like, oh, I'm looking for my partner, or hey, this is happening, or I'm looking for this. And I'm like, dude, have a little bit of fucking artistry with this. Like, I don't know. It just feels so flat sometimes where I'm just like, there is an idea here. But
so
it's
there's
flat.
a lot of what do you like, presentation of interesting ideas, but not necessarily good elaboration on those.
Yeah.
And that is an element that takes you out of it every now and then, more often than we'd like to be honest. And going back to what I was saying, at least for me, also it being only 12 episodes kind of takes away from what you could have of Kaiman and Nikaido's characters and their own individual relationship and all that stuff. It's not enough time to, first of all, see those two go to the lengths they go, but then also know them individually as well.
Yeah, it's like when you see the two characters interacting and it's like 12 episode, you do have the time if you actually spend the time and go less far in your goals.
Exactly.
Right? You need to go not as far in the story, but more time with the characters.
It's because,
but you're so focused on getting to the next thing. This is low-key. Some people will hate me for saying this, but it's like a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood versus Full Metal Alchemist Original. I like certain things about Brotherhood, but there are moments in Brotherhood where I'm just like, damn, we're here already? And we're done with it already?
They just jump.
And then
in
Full Metal Alchemist Original, it's like we spend 3 episodes, the 4 episodes, the 5 episodes on this. So
which gives you the weight and the serious situation better.
To be clear, my ultimate recommendation for Full Metal Alchemist is always the manga, but
I feel like that goes for everyone, though.
Yeah, but I understand it's not for everyone. But anyways, I do think it is very important that you have the time for your characters to actually become people you care about. Like, the Earthquake arc in Link Click absolutely could have been 1 episode. Definitely could have been. But ultimately, it's not about getting to the next fucking goal. What it's about, like this Link Click could have been a show.
It's about telling the story and not clearing checkpoints.
Yeah, like Link Click as a show could have been literally just like, oh, okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go do this episodic thing, this episodic thing, this episodic thing. Nothing's gonna connect. We're gonna meet the next goal. But what it's about artistry and storytelling. It's about feeling things, growing, becoming human. And like, even if it's not about becoming human, like for me with Kaiman, I'm just like, dude, I don't know if I want to be on this ride with you. That's my thing. With him as a protagonist, I'm not that sold. I'm more like, I want to figure out your thing, but I'm not sold with writing with him as a protagonist. You know?
Yeah, you're not necessarily. He's not one of the characters that you feel almost like a kinship towards.
Yeah,
he's just like, there's this interesting situation, mystery kind of thing going on, and I do want to know where it's going. But it's not because of Kaiman, and it's just because of the situation itself.
Yeah.
Though, talking all about this, one of the things that I appreciated about this show is being the connection between characters. So we didn't get to dive, like we just talked, too deep around them, but especially like since you mentioned earlier as well, for example, Shin and Noi's connection, and their connection to N, and N's connection to everyone. Like, so what I'm trying to get at is like in a lot of animes, especially seinen and shonen type of animes, we get the generic like villain or bad side, and then the good side. And the good side is obviously with the MC because he is the prophesized hero, and then the bad side is obviously together because like someone like pain went to them and they were like, I will destroy the world with you, and they were like, ah, yes,
Yeah.
Revenge. And everyone just goes their own ways, and there isn't anything that deep. Though here you almost feel like they're 100% bad, they're 100% good, and a bit more like they're like chosen family in a sense. Especially with N, Noi, and Shin is what I'm feeling. Since like we get to see how they meet each other, and how they become partners in that Blue Moon arc, I guess you could call it, or portion of the anime, and how they established the family like N runs, all that like small strings of relationship and how it came around, kind of like is a nice touch.
For me, that's an expectation. I actually the thing is, when a show doesn't do that, I'm like, you're a bad show. I mean, I'm spoiled by Trails and I'm spoiled by plenty of other good anime that I've watched. But I think that's about being conscious with your characters and how you're using them. And I think shows that are lazy, shonens.
That's what I was going to say. There's so many out there that it's not like that.
Sure. I just think that
it's important that it is like
the
that.
idea that the majority is the standard, I think is something that I don't agree with, in terms of maybe you're used to it and that's how you feel and that's how it is in the moment. But ultimately, like the stories I hold myself to are probably less, and it's more specific, but these are the standards and ideas that I believe that, like, yeah, your characters need to be intentional actors in all of this. They need to be a part of it. They need to have reasons. They need to have their goals. Like, I was rewatching My Hero kind of recently, and you look at Class A, and you're like, wow, Jesus fucking Christ. These characters get like one scene and that's it. And they're all passengers to the story. Yeah, it's nice that these characters aren't passengers to the story. That's my expectation into it. So I think while I appreciate that for what it is, to be fair, there are the occasional moments where it's like, Ibisu's a bit of a passenger. I'm sure she's going to get more screen time and all that kind of stuff. And that other guy's, like Matsumura, it's crazy. I remember his friend's name because he keeps saying Matsumura, but I don't remember his name. Is it Fujita? I can't remember his name. The loser with the long nose. I can't remember his name.
Oh, the one with the half mask?
Yeah, whatever his name is. Can't remember his name. Regardless, I think
question.
that overall, your characters not being passengers in your stories just because they're side characters. That's my expectation, and I really hope that you do pay that attention, and I appreciate it, and I enjoyed things like Shin and Noi and all that stuff with N, but ultimately, that's like okay, good, you did your homework type of thing to me. That's all it is to me.
Fujita, yeah, you got it right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like okay, you did your job. Cool. And I
understand where you come from. I'm just saying, after all, everything we talked about, stuff like this, especially if I was watching this episode, you might not necessarily expect it to be there. So it is there in that sense.
It's a seinen that has ideas, but really struggles to like make them special, if that makes sense. None of the ideas feel special due to A, poor execution by a map, and B, struggles of pacing. And I think also this missing identity to the whole story. I don't think there's this great theme that sticks out through the entire story or that you can latch on to. Like, I want to say it's like about finding yourself to some extent and kind of like, finding your place in the world and being accepted.
Well, I'd say that's most definitely like the bigger part, since we see that struggle in almost every character in the show, but
it doesn't connect very well, and it's not very, there's not enough emotional oomph in the emotional beats. Like when you think about Link Click, you think about it's almost like a symphony, and like it reaches a crescendo, and it's like, I felt the emotions building, and then I knew it was gonna rupture, and it's like, it's that. Whereas with this show, it's kind of just like oh, that happened. Was I supposed to feel that? Okay, I get it. It kind of is okay in retrospect, but not a good story leads you to that without you having to be
I will
retrospective about it, you know?
Yeah, I will say it's not necessarily like an emotionally triggering in any way type of story. It's much more. It is there, and you get to see that it's there if you have enough knowledge and experience. As in, like, wait, I'm saying, that there's they're not since they're not emotionally there, you would have to actively watch it as like a more critiquing it kind of way to see that there are elements like those, but not well executed, or not as good executed as a lot of other good shows we end up watching.
Yeah, I mean, forcing yourself to find it is more so the way I put it. It's just like,
I wouldn't say force. Like, for me, it was not forcing, because like it kind of, like everything about this show, everything you see is forced in your face by the narration. But it's not adding that second or third layer that makes you
I'm saying
feel,
that second or third layer, you have to force yourself to find, is there something there? And I think
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
argue it's there. That's my thing. You can argue it's there. I just don't think it presents itself in a way that is interesting or different or new or engaging. And I'm just overall just like, wow, there is potential here. There's ideas, and there's overall like a solid aesthetic and a solid kind of goal.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that makes me love it. You know, I'm always just kind of like, oh, this is all interesting and fine, but I would rate this show decently, but not have any. I don't have a fire in my heart to share it. Even if there are shows like, God forbid I say Wonder Egg Priority. Wonder Egg Priority is a show I can talk about a lot of things about it that are very good, very interesting, but it does things colossally wrong. That I'm just like, I have a fire to talk about it still. But with this show, I'm just kind of like, I mean, these ideas are present and these are cool, but ultimately, this is not what I tell stories for. Like, it's a difference between, like, there's a lot more to say about a kid who's failing a class versus a kid who's getting like a C minus, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about this show. Is I'm just like, they're not doing well. They're doing fine, per se. Maybe C minus is a bit rough, but let's say they're getting like a C, maybe if occasionally they go up and down from there. And it's like, they're passing, they're doing fine. They'll probably be able to do something with it eventually, but there's nothing really highly to praise. Not that it's middle of the road, not that there's nothing unique about them, but it's just, there's nothing that ignites something in me. And I'm really sad to say that, because it's a lot of just baseline good ideas not ever coming together. It's like a lot of cool small Legos that actually don't become a larger piece. It's just like a small Lego.
I do remember you mentioning, like, I really want to love this show, but it's not taking me there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Good art needs to, heavily in my personal opinion, I think good art needs to take you somewhere to some extent. It needs to be willing to drive you and do something. Like, sure, there are pieces of art that their goal is to make you think, but it's because it pushed you in a corner and made you think. I didn't feel moved by this art. You know, I just felt, okay, this is information I'm taking in. It is achieving its goals. I get it. But why am I here? You know, that's the type of thing. Is it a fun show to pass the time with? Sure. I don't think I have any complaints about passing the time with this show beyond animation issues. But ultimately, when evaluating it on the idea of, like, you know, I always tell people I would love to be able to have a piece of art that changes me every time I watch it. Like, you know, that's my goal of when watching art. When something doesn't do that, and not only doesn't do that, doesn't feel like it's trying to do that, I get really disappointed, because I'm just like, but I think you could, right? It's like the kid with a little bit more potential, but is getting C's, you know?
Yeah.
That's maybe the best way of putting it. Kid with more potential than a C, but only getting C's, doesn't really enjoy it. So I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm just whatever on it.
I hear you. No, it did. I get what you're saying. I am mostly on the same page with that too. As in, for me, and you've pretty much know this if you watch the previous episodes, in comparison to Jared, I do like picking specific shows that have specific good elements to them, but not necessarily amazing. I don't pick bad shows. Don't get this wrong. You all like I don't go out there and like search for like which one is just bad. Let's pick that. But like for me there's a lot of stuff out there that has like a element or two that's interesting within itself. So I am, inclined to invest some amount of time into shows like that. This does not mean that show pushes the mediocre boundary we talk about all the time and becomes something amazing and like super well executed. Which I guess if every show was like that, that would be our average. But that being said, in this case, for Dorohedoro, me being a nerd about magic and fantasy worlds and stuff like that, on top of loving gory, dark aesthetics, that's what initially pulled me in. Did it go super above and beyond after that point? Unfortunately, not. I do agree with that. But like you also said, is it does it have enough intriguing ideas and I guess presentations in it that still keeps it moving? Yes, in that sense. It really should do more.
Yeah.
For sure it should do more because of every other thing we just discussed. But yeah, that was like the part that picked me is the first part we talked, which is like the aesthetics, the magic, not being as common or as similar as other ones. And I do like my Mortal Kombat. Like I'm not gonna deny that. Like every now and then I do have that guilty pleasure kind of thing that watching like a super metal, like gory stuff is like heck yeah to me.
Yeah, I think I don't think I've ever been hooked by a show simply because of the if I don't like in the most broad term way you describe, if I don't think a show has sauce, even if I'm pleased by a lot of things about it, I'm never going to be that hooked by it because I kind of feel like I'm seeing through it of like, oh, I see that you don't know how you're handling this, right? I think you don't have that handle on you to be able to tell a story that's going to push me and drive me. So I'm not going to like listen. I'm not kidding when I say this. Wonder Egg Priority changed me. To see a show with so much sauce throw something away so hard makes me super critical of things nowadays. So I'm just like, I don't want to go on that journey again of investing a lot of something emotionally and then be like, wow, you get nothing. In fact, not only do you get nothing, you get terrible, like straight garbage. And I really try to do my best to judge shows that actually are going to tell and do something crazy. And I'll be wrong occasionally. Don't get me wrong. I've definitely been wrong on shows before. It happens.
Well, none of us can be.
Yeah, you can't be perfect. Artists take different directions and weird things. But when a show is just a couple of good ideas put together, I can watch it to pass the time.
Yeah.
But I don't like watching anime and media to pass the time. I'm very intentional about what I watch and what I'm trying to get out of something. And I try to meet shows halfway ultimately, but when I feel like a show isn't even trying to, despite, I think a lot of stories do have the pretense of trying to be emotional and move you to some extent. I do think that's why we tell stories. And I think that is kind of, even if they don't fully intend to it, there is a subconscious intent to it. When I see a show not even trying to do that, it does, disappoint me greatly.
No, yeah, like, I can't agree to that. I definitely see what you're talking about. But I'm not that person. And I feel like that's the good part about our show because genuinely, because you get to throw in different blends and not every show is amazing, not every show is great. And it is recommendations that you get for the story and for other aesthetic parts for people who enjoy it like I myself.
It's good for certain reference points, but if you were to ask me, gun to my head, if I would you prefer to watch 3 peak shows a month or 2? I would always say 3. So,
dude, my voice is going, by the way. For me, I'd say there isn't enough peak shows.
You gotta look a little harder about it.
What?
You gotta look a little harder. I think I think there's more. They're just not marketed well.
No, there's more. Like the simplest example would be Orb,
Yeah.
but there's still like we have to see first of all good and bad to appreciate the good more.
I've seen enough bad in my life. I'm good, man. I've played so much dog shit. I say played because I've played a lot of dog shit games.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, we're not watching dog shit regardless.
No, not dog shit. But I like
I'm not making you watch Sword Art Online, brother.
No, I know. But like my thing is, it's like like now that I'm in the phase of my life where my media consumption is so intentional, I value my time a ton. And not that I don't think the thing is I don't think this was a waste of time or anything like that. I just like didn't gain anything out of it. It was kind of like emotionally. I just kind of gained an idea and understanding, and I was like, cool. But I didn't like when I watch something like Link League or 86 or Orb, I'm like, wow, I'm challenged, I'm thinking, I'm feeling like it, you know.
Those the best way I can put it is that those shows are more existential and like as in they make you question certain stuff about your life, about your reality, about what's they're pushing you to think those things, right? And they push you to think certain stuff. Shows like Dorohedoro are not that I'm saying this is the way or not, but much more like baseline entertainment kind of shows.
It's entertainment.
That still has of value, for example, like a more for someone who's more interested in certain aspects. Not thought inducing as in like, oh, like I watched this show and it changed my life in reality, but it's like watching a fantasy or reading a fantasy novel, right? Like diving into that world, seeing that aesthetic, kind of experiencing that world, even though it's not necessarily life changing, is pleasant. And it might not be for you. Like I'm not saying that. Like I'm not saying this is gonna be the case for everyone, but I do have a few shows that is like that for me, which is aesthetically pleasing, quote unquote. I'm not only using this for visuals, but generally pleasing for various reasons, and it doesn't have to be life changing or like, oh yeah, like this made me think this way. I'm more good in my life. Like I'm not searching for that with each show. But again, this is my consumption of anime and not yours. So I
think
get
for
that
me,
too.
the difference is I would agree with that sentiment more if we did not live in a world where how art and entertainment is created is inherently tied to money. I think that is the largest problem related to this is that entertainment is encouraged highly and it is marketed highly and it is something sold highly and it is used and is masked as art oftentimes. Whereas art is something that is a struggle to succeed and consistently has to come over barriers to be in the same realm as entertainment despite probably needing to be its own separate thing. But it is constantly competing and dealing with entertainment. So whenever I see something that is more or less entertainment and then taking more or less resources away from art, I'm frustrated because I'm always just like, well, someone probably didn't get to make their manga or their anime or do something with it because this is being made instead. Because the majority of anime is entertainment, and the majority of movies and film and shows are entertainment, whereas art is few and far between, quite frankly. And I'm always someone who is like, yeah, I should be looking for art. I'm not looking for entertainment. Do I occasionally look for entertainment? Of course, like I'm a human being. But the proportion is definitely unhealthy, is my main thing. It is a very unhealthy ratio we have currently, and that's my biggest problem.
Yeah, but I feel like Dorohedoro does not go so low that it's one of the ones that you just mentioned taking away a chance.
It's not the biggest deal per se, but it's just like it is just I'm not again, I didn't get anything big out of it, and for me the entertainment value wasn't like big for me. Like I'm not biased to the magic genre. I'm not biased to the brutality. I'm not biased to like the jokes.
No, you don't have to be biased towards anything. It's taste at the end of the day.
Well, biased, taste, more or less the same thing.
Nah.
Maybe.
I'm biased towards mecha.
Okay, well, that's bias and taste are a similar thing. I can assure you.
No, they are, but I'm saying like you not being against something.
But that's not what bias can be positive or negative.
Yes, but in this context, I feel like you're using it more
I'm
negative.
using it as both. But I'm using bias as like the neutral term of bias towards yes or no. Like saying like I'm biased towards my biased towards friends who buy me coffee. That's like a bias that you can have. That is like
Okay. Well, yeah. If you're using it neutral,
yeah, bias and taste.
If you're using neutral, then like, for example, I am in that case, since I'm more positively biased towards magic related things and fantasy themed things, that entertains me more. If you're not, it's obvious that it's not going to entertain you.
Well, to be fair, I think it can be, when you do it well enough. I think ultimately your biases don't matter, even for entertainment. If it's entertaining, like don't get me wrong, like there's definitely some pieces of entertainment where I'm like, God damn, even though I don't like this, I'm hella fucking entertained.
Yes, but I'm also saying like you're living in a world where Chainsaw Man's movie is one of the best-selling anime movies.
I know. My point. Well, to be fair, I think Chainsaw Man's execution on certain ideas is interesting, but I do think also there's a lot of problems with Chainsaw Man with certain other regards. Anyways, not to talk about Chainsaw Man more. But for me, it's the fact that it couldn't it didn't even try to grab me. You know, that's the thing. It's just like you either enjoy this or you don't. That's my thing. It didn't even try to convince me to like it. That's my problem.
That is true. Yeah.
It's like, you either like this or you don't like this funny. And I'm like, really? You're not even going to try to make me laugh? And it's like, you're going to either like this score or not like this score. I'm like, you're not even going to try to make this kind of interesting or higher production value or something? That's my biggest problem, is it feels like it was set for a specific audience and didn't even try. And I'm like, just because I'm not part of that audience doesn't mean that I can't enjoy it. You know? There's plenty of pieces of media that heavily reaches outside its audience because it does something at least decent in terms of like outreach per se. It just feels like it sticks in its lane so hard that I'm like, man, I'm
That's
good.
a good way to put it. Yeah, that's actually the best way to put it. Yeah.
That's my biggest thing, is it never ventures out even in the realm of entertainment to become something that is more for just those target audience it's hitting, you know? And that's, you know.
And that's okay. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It's not a show that reaches out of its way to try to pull someone in that's not already interested.
Yeah.
And that is
And what's crazy is that's kind of a trope in magic telling stories.
Exactly. That is a crucial point in a lot of, not even just magic, but like fantasy related shows.
Fantasy fans. Fantasy fans, please, you got to work on that.
And this is like a fantasy show nonetheless. So that's
Because it's like, I always like low-key, not to hate on fantasy for too long, I compare about sci-fi. Sci-fi tries to reach a large audience, and it's about a lot of things.
It is, yeah.
Fantasy really tries to hit the same notes over and over again. So.
And that's why it kind of is popular within the same fan base and not outside of that fan base necessarily. So we got to work on that, folk. But that being said, with all this, if you are in that fan base or like group that is interested with stuff like that, with stuff that I mentioned, like again, for me it was the gory and not so common execution of what magic is. For you it might be just the brutality, or for you it might just not be your cup of tea at all. But you can take a look at it. See it for yourself.
I will say this show doesn't make any glaring mistakes. I just don't think it does anything to be inspiring or overly entertaining that I'm just kind of like, unless you know you're probably gonna like it, you probably already know whether you like it or not by just looking at a trailer. So
that is true. Yeah,
I think that says a lot about what it is.
The mediocre student with a higher potential but not going for it is the perfect analogy for that. So
it says a lot on the tin, which is unfortunate. Like you kind of get the log line, you're like, that's it. Okay, got it. So
we're gonna leave you with that. Well, actually, no. Before we're gonna leave you with that, there is a season 2 coming.
2026 release for a 2020 anime is crazy, brother.
That is crazy too. So
ending on a cliffhanger too. That's crazy, brother.
That ending was interesting. As in not as satisfying as it should be with a lot of other things for this show.
It's paced all wrong.
So, and it's again a pacing issue, so we're not gonna elaborate on it too much. That being said, a season 2 is coming. I personally wanna see it, or will see it probably when it completes, just so that I can see like how they continue and kind of wrap this up. But for now, that's the mediocre child of the class for you.
Yeah.
And
next episode is
we'll
going to
see
be
you, yeah.
Next episode is going to be a long title. Here we come. The Tunnel to Summer, The Exit of Goodbyes. Anime movie.
We will see you at the tunnel.
Yep.
Bye.